Hello, Revival Tournaments gamers. It is Gold Mason. We're back with another Revival Tournaments video. Round 6, you guys remember what happened, and round 7, which just was covered on the channel. Mana beat Fradazi and Sadlisius beat Endel. This was Losers Quarters. Now we are in Losers Semifinals, Mana versus Sadlisius. It is still best of 3 for this set, I believe. But for this set, it is best of 5. It is Winners Finals. So very exciting. Losers Semis, Winners Finals. The winner of this round will automatically go, of the ABR BIHI match, will automatically go to Grand Finals. Either way, both of these gamers are guaranteed to be in the money, whereas Mana and Sadlisius are fighting for 3rd and 4th place, respectively, guarantee. Whoever wins, guaranteed at least 3rd place. Loser is guaranteed 4th place. So yeah, it's going to be exciting, and I'm going to turn it over to the commentators.
Hey Jimvitational fans, it is Callus. You guys are probably not expecting me to be narrating this particular match, and I wasn't either. There has been a change of plans. I know that I said in one of the previous recordings that I did that I would be doing the 3rd place match, and that was the plan, but I got the boot out of that match, and I'm going to be doing this, which is the Winners Bracket Finals instead. And then Jim is going to be doing the Grand Finals, so might be the last that you guys are going to see of me, and I hope that you have been enjoying my commentary thus far. I'm going to do my best on this one, as I always do. So, awesome matchup here between two very established Smogon players. BIHI playing as PIHI, representing France, and ABR on the top, representing Underhome. These guys are guaranteed money no matter what at this point. That's the beauty of being in the Winners Bracket Finals. The worst that either of these guys can do, no matter what from here, even if they don't win a single game for the rest of the tournament, is 3rd place. And at the time of this recording, the prize pool is in the vicinity of $2,000, so they're going to get 20% of that, which is $400 plus, no matter what, which is an awesome place to be. However, I cannot stress to you, as the host of this tournament for 7 years, how big of an advantage it is to win in this match. So in perspective, if you win here, you're in the upper bracket in the Grand Finals, and you just have to win 1 set. You are 1 set away from winning the entire tournament. Whereas if you lose here, you have to win not only the 3rd place match, but then you also have to win 2 sets in the Grand Finals. So in perspective, if you win, you're only 1 set away from being the champ, and if you lose, you are 3 sets away from being the champ. Not to mention that the sets are best of 5, so it is a hell of a grind, and this is also a best of 5, so it's going to be awesome. These guys definitely know each other. They were teammates on Wolfpack, and they're also just 2 of the top Smogon players. I don't know to what extent their relationship is going to factor into their choices, but like I said, this is a best of 5, and unlike my other replays that you guys sometimes like to comment too long of an intro, just like this one, and then the games only end up going 10 minutes or whatever, this is probably not going to be one of those. Best of 5s have the potential to go long, and I'm too stupid to video edit, so gonna do it all in one take, no cuts, no breaks. Any mistakes that I make, and I always make plenty, are gonna be in here for good measure. Let's get into it. It is a best of 5 for the right to be in the upper bracket in the Grand Finals, a massive advantage, whereas the loser here will await whoever comes out of the lower bracket in the lower bracket final, which is effectively the 3rd place match. BIHI and ABR, baby, 2 of Smogon's finest. Here we go. So again, BIHI, PIHI evidently, is on the bottom, and ABR is on the top. Dugtrio lead, very, very strange. Wonder what he was trying to catch. Huh. That's cool for ABR. That is definitely not the norm. He's got himself a 4E squad here, and 4E stuff is usually pretty locked in. I mean, there's certain things that it kind of has to have. Dugtrio is not normally on them, in fact, so you can kind of predict a lot of the rest of ABR's team already. Certainly going to have a Tyranitar to pair with that Fortress, usually for Sutar, and then you would think that Swampert would be there as well. And assuming those things are true, it leaves you with room for only one more Pokemon. A Claydol, okay. Haven't seen this archetype in a while. It caught on maybe 2-ish years ago as the flavor of the month for a little bit and then kind of disappeared. But Fori and Dull, a weird pairing. So the Fori itself may not actually have Rapid Spin, and that frees it up to have moves like Boom or Toxic or Zap Cannon. It can even set screens, whatever you need it to do. But this is pretty clearly a stall team for ABR, and there's a very, very old team going back to like M-Dragon 2015 World Cup, very similar to this, where the last poke would be Gengar and the Fori would just be a Skarm, but it's pretty much the same damn concept. Either way, obviously a very stally team for ABR, not clear yet for BIHI. He seems to heavily favor TSS-esque teams. TSS balances, TSS leaning defensive. And like I said, too early to say because BIHI's only shown the 3 pokes, but looking like he's leaning that way yet again. The fact that it is mixed meta, well, just kidding. I was going to say could matter later, but nope. Just going to boom right now. And if the Fori in fact does not have Rapid Spin, which we still don't know, then that actually could be pretty relevant that it boomed on the Doll. That could mean that ABR is going to have to deal with spikes for the rest of the game, since obviously the Skarm is still alive for BIHI. Toxic connecting with Blissey here. A little bit of a clock on her. That connected, of course, through the Para and the Imperfect Accuracy. Pretty clear Soft-Boiled turn, and here is a T-Bolt for lack of anything better to do. Both players still with unrevealed Mons, 2 of them for BIHI, 1 of them for ABR. Aromatherapy makes the status problems go away, and there's just another Thunderbolt. Might just be another Soft-Boiled turn coming, and indeed, that's what we get. And Toxic, again, through the accuracy in the Para, is re-established on the Natural Cure Mon. Doesn't seem like a huge deal. Gonna stay in and go for S-Toss, actually. That also might be for lack of something better to do. Puts a little bit of chip on Zapdos, now sitting at 54%. And Aromatherapy happens again, but Zapdos can also get rid of its status problem, as it turns out. It's got Rest. Gonna burn a Sleep turn, and Blissey gonna Soft Boiled, so both pokes, after all that, are back at a hundo. Gonna kill the second Sleep turn, and S-Toss for lack of something better to do, but this Blissey that we know the full set of and that we know does not have Ice Beam is obviously gonna have a very difficult time killing the Zapdos. Would need a sequence of multiple cooperative full Paras in a row. Stranger things have happened, but not the most likely. That being said, Zapdos is going to be forced to rest here. It cannot eat another Seismic Toss. So ABR, knowing it is a very obvious rest turn, will see what he does. Goes to Fori here, and there are no spikes on his side to Rapid Spin away, even if he does have it. So might as well establish more layers of his own. Unclear how much of BIHI's team actually cares about that, because he does still have 2 unrevealeds, but we know that 2 of the 3 that we do know that are alive do not care about the spikes. Zapdos wakes and flings yet another Toxic. ABR did manage to establish all 3 layers beneath BIHI's team, whereas BIHI has not yet found the opportunity to reestablish some of his layers. Skarm is relatively healthy here at 76%. I'm kind of surprised actually that it didn't switch into the Bliss on one of these obvious soft-boiled turns, but BIHI playing it very patiently, and it's hard to know how good or not good his plays are, what he should be doing without the information that he has that we don't have, which is of course his last Mons. ABR is being pretty fast and loose with Aromatherapy. I mean, obviously when he's clicking it, it's doing something, it's removing the Toxic, but it only has 8 PP to begin with, so if this game goes really long, I wonder if he'll regret not being a little more conservative with them. Aerodactyl comes in for BIHI, that was previously unrevealed. That's yet another Pokemon that doesn't care about spikes, so might be looking at some kind of like Superman-esque team here for BIHI. Couple Rock Slides later. Was Claydol the only Rock Resist for ABR? That is a big problem if so. Suicune almost died. Blissey did die, and now here comes Dugtrio as the switch into Aerodactyl. Desperate times, desperate measures, but ABR weasels in his Suicune and gets a rest off, and he needs to make plays like that. That was a great sequence for ABR. to get himself a little bit back in the game, but the Aerodactyl is going to be a huge issue here if Claydol was the only rock resist on the team, and that very much seems to be the case. And I'll tell you, that is very much not the last poke that I was expecting. Not even close. Last poke Snorlax from ABR, so this is truly a unique creation that he's loaded up here in Game 1 of the Winners Bracket Finals. I don't know that I've actually ever seen that configuration of 6. We now see that Fortress does have Rapid Spin, so he's not totally boned by Spikes, but man, the fact that he's got Lax and Suicune without Magneton really is interesting here. He pops the sub with Return, but Endeavor got him down to just 30%, and Swampert's going to sub again, which is going to get popped, but now the Endeavor would make him even lower should he go for it again. He also could go for a Torrent boosted water attack, which he does. It ends up being Surf rather than Pump, so it doesn't kill. Of course, Sand will kill, but he would have kept his Swampert had he killed him without the Sand. So it leaves us in a 4-3, and there's only one thing even masquerading as a win condition at this point for ABR, and that is, of course, the Suicune, who might have a tough go of things with a Zapdos, an Aerodactyl, and a Skarmory on the other side. Now, granted, maybe last poke Suicune could be in business, but even then you've got to worry about the aforementioned Zapdos and the Aerodactyl, even if the Skarm isn't necessarily a threat anymore. And I don't think BIHI is going to make it all that easy for ABR to go down to last poke Suicune. And if he does, he may go down to last poke Suicune where the Coon is at, 50% or something, and the Zapdos can just eat him up. So, not over by any means, and obviously with how deep we are in the tournament and how big of an advantage it would be to win this set, they're going to play it out. Not going to concede until there is absolutely no chance, but this is going to be a very difficult game for ABR to win. I feel very confident that BIHI is overwhelmingly likely, from where we sit right now, to take down Game 1. Dugtrio comes in again. The Dugtrio really in this matchup, not exciting. I mean, there is a meta, there is a Tar, so it doesn't do actual nothing, but there are a whole lot of pokes on the other side that Dugtrio would not be all that good against. And like I said, an unusual lead, but an outright unusual team as a whole for ABR. Like I said, I don't think I've ever seen that exact 6 before, so can definitely appreciate the creativity and the boldness in Game 1 of the Winners Bracket Finals. Rest is going to get rid of that Toxic, much needed, and Spikes are re-established again, but we do know for a fact that Fori has Rapid Spin. Sleep Turn killed, and Roar is going to drag out the Dugtrio, which of course does not have leftovers, and there is no possibility of Wish for ABR, so any damage that Dugtrio incurs is going to be there to stay. That being said, yet another Rapid Spin, and Spikes revert to 3-0, favoring ABR. Suicune comes back into Zapdos. The only reason that he's comfortable doing that is, of course, because the Zapdos is napping. Gonna kill a Sleep Turn, so does the Suicune. Cute little napping buddies, but things are about to get chaotic. Wakey wakey. And Toxic is going to connect with Dugtrio. Obviously better than Thunderbolt on that turn. Like I said, all damage on the Dugtrio matters. EQ, they're hoping that T-Tar will switch in, but it doesn't. Going to be a swing and a miss on a Skarm as BIHI doubles back immediately to Zapdos, gets that in on the Fori. Back to Skarm, and back to Dugtrio, which is now at just 52%. Back to Fori again. One layer of Spikes for BIHI. Rapid Spin, sure. But Zapdos staring down the Fori yet again. No real great switch-ins to this Zapdos from ABR's seat. Yeah, you've got an Electric Immune, but it's poisoned and it doesn't have lefties, so that is not going to be a long-term solution. And ABR, again, is going to just click EQ and hope that the T-Tar comes in, but again, it doesn't, and BIHI, I think, is smart enough to not fall for that. I don't see that being something that's going to actually work for ABR anytime soon. Rapid Spin happens again, but the loop continues, and eventually this Dugtrio is going to die. It's down now to just 28% as we continue the loop. I don't see how ABR thinks he's going to get out of this game. Maybe the plan is to fodder off the Dugtrio and then click Explosion on the 4. We haven't seen the last move. It could be Boom, and then go down to Last Poke Suicune and try to get there from there. Not a great plan, but very possibly the only plan that ABR has at this point. As the loop carries on here, if he could force the Zapdos to rest somehow, or if the Zapdos happens to be the Boom target, then that's probably the best position ABR could be in with Last Poke Suicune. But again, I think we can expect BIHI to play around that to a reasonable extent. The loop continues, but Dugtrio is at just 9%, so sooner rather than later we will get to the next stage of the game. And BIHI hasn't shown the Aerodactyl or the T-Tar in eternity. He's just back and forth this whole time between Zapdos and Skarm, as he should be. They both understand the game state. There's no mystery here. Roar is going to drag out the Suicune, fair enough. This says that he has been asleep for 2 turns, meaning he's due to wake up. And back we go to the Fortress on a Toxic turn. Rapid Spin for lack of something better to do. There's Roar. There is the Dugtrio down to 3%. Will be dead the next time he either gets dragged out or sticks around. Could have been right there, but it wasn't. It was just a coin flip. Ended up being the Suicune. Toxic there again, just in case the Suicune stayed in and woke up, but it didn't. And Roar again is going to fail to find Dugtrio, but it is an inevitability. Sooner rather than later, the Dougie's going down. But that is 3 50-50 Roars in a row that could have found Doug, but didn't. 4th time's the charm. There we go. Finally, Dugtrio succumbs to the poison after getting roared out. So now it is only Fortress and Suicune against the 4 pokes for BIHI as we cross turn 100. And ABR, if he's got Boom, is going to be very, very patient with it. Try to find the right moment and blow up on the exactly perfect target, which is probably the Zapdos. So I guess missed opportunity. If he had it there, he could have done it. And he could have done it there too, but it's Thunderbolt with a para, full power, which is really frustrating for ABR, who clearly would Boom there if he had it. But we now know he does not have it. He's got Rest, which makes sense with an Aromatherapy Blissey. I'm cool with it. Good building, makes sense, all that good stuff. However, in this specific situation, it's not what he needs. He basically has no ability to kill the Zapdos, and I think he's just dead to it, but here he goes anyway. He's going to wake up and immediately Calm Mind and basically cross his damn fingers. So there's the wake up in the CM. He's going to have to live Thunderbolt here, which Thunderbolt and Sand in and of itself gonna be an issue, but let's see if he can even do that. Toxic and Rest, fair enough. Let's go ahead and check on Thunderbolt PP. It's actually really low, so he's got a shot here, because remember, this is actually not even an accurate count. It says 7, but he's got even fewer than that, because any of them that go with the Suicune are affected by pressure, so he's actually really low on Thunderbolts, but nevertheless, if he has but 1 more in the tank, that will be good enough. And he does. And he could not have had many left whatsoever. Like I said, this says that he had 4, but several of those were into Suicune. I didn't count exactly, but that might have literally been his last Thunderbolt. But that's all that he needed. That one was the only one he needed in that situation. The Suicune went down. There was no way out of that for ABR. And kicking off this Winners Bracket Finals with a long game, 113 turns, it's going to be a victory for BIHI. But like I said, this is a best of 5. It has potential to go really long. So I'm just going to get the advertising out of the way real quick. I promise I'll make it quick. There's 2 things. One, I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/CallosNarrates. Like I said, don't know that I'll be narrating any more of this for the tournament because I believe all the games after this are spoken for. So for the last time, if you want to check out my content, see what I have to offer, that is the best place to do it. I've gained like 400 subs since I started guest narrating on this tournament, and I really, really appreciate you guys, so thank you to those of you who did check out my channel and did subscribe. I really appreciate you. Finally, it is not too late to boost up that donation pool. They're going to be taking the donations all the way to the end of the tournament. There's a million milestones we could try to hit here. 2,500, $3 grand, try to beat the former CI record set last year. if you've been enjoying the content, if you've got the means, it is not too late to donate. Please consider doing that via PayPal donation link, also found in the description. So, with those two things out of the way, I promise no more advertising until the very, very end of this, where I'll probably tell you to subscribe to my channel again. Let's get into any subsequent games. Could be as few as 2, could be as many as 4 more. But BIHI has the 1-0 lead going into the second game, and I will go ahead and switch those sides for continuity. Let's get into game 2. BIHI as PIHI on the bottom, and ABR twice in a row is going to lead Dugtrio. That's so effing weird. But unlike the previous game, he catches something that he wants to catch, which is Raikou, which is also a weird lead. However, the follow-up Porygon 2 is going to result in a trade. A lot of the time, if this were a ladder game, you just wouldn't bother with this. You would just click Ice Beam and go from there. But with this being a tournament game with obvious high stakes, with money and the title and all that good stuff on the line, you're going to go through the motions just for the slight advantage. The way that this is going to end for people who have not seen this sequence before is the Dugtrio, which is Choice Band locked on Earthquake, is going to eventually run out of Earthquake PP. There's only 16 of them to begin with, and then he's going to start to struggle. And when he does that, it's going to leave the Porygon at just a little bit higher PP, or HP rather, than he would have been if he had simply killed it in response to an Earthquake, rather than killed it in response to a struggle. So that's what we're waiting for here. There's more recover PP than Earthquake PP. Once the Dugtrio begins to struggle, it's going to get Ice Beamed away. But for now, we just go through the motions. Like I said, not the most riveting content, but this is the right thing to do in this situation. There is the struggle. BIHI knew it was coming because it counted. And there is the Ice Beam, so Dugtrio is no more as we resume normal gameplay. Did ABR bring the same team twice in a row? Not only would it be interesting to bring the same team twice in a row, but the same team that just didn't win for him in the previous game. That would be a very bold decision if he did in fact repeat it, and so far, all signs look like he very well may have done exactly that. He's got the Fori and the Suicune again after the weird Dugtrio lead. And there's the Claydol. It sure as hell looks like it's the same team. Like I said, bold choice for ABR. Not only to bring the same team back-to-back, but to bring back-to-back the team that just lost. That is bold. I admire it. I mean, it all could be a ruse. Could be 2 different pokes on the back, but there's only so many things that fit with this configuration. I'm kind of banking that it is the exact same team that we just saw. In the meantime, and there's Bliss, further evidence that it's the same team, but in the meantime, ABR managed to establish all 3 layers of spikes, and BIHI has not yet shown a Rapid Spinner. May or may not have one, but this looks like some kind of special spam, so there might not be room for a Rapid Spinner on this team. You might have to deal with the spikes. We'll see. Thunderbolt there blanking on Claydol. This game looks a lot better than the previous did for ABR. I think he's in pretty good shape in the early goings here. And Psychic doesn't kill the Zapdos, but it hits him pretty good. Gets him down to 9% and gets a Specs drop. Hidden Power there would have needed a crit to kill. Doesn't find it. And Psychic, of course, from 9% will suffice. Does Cheetar have Pursuit? Well, very well may have, but he went for Crunch instead, and that's going to get the job done, so Claydol goes down as well, and we've got ourselves a 4-4 with unrevealeds for both, though I think we probably know what ABR's unrevealed Pokemon is. For BIHI, it is less clear, but the Porygon 2 is going to attempt to handle the Suicune here, but first he's got to recover. ABR takes advantage of that with a Calm Mind, and we proceed. Surf at 37%, pretty good. T-Wave comes back, pretty good as well, but Porygon 2 is going to have to recover again, and does. And we don't know what ABR wanted to do there. Could have been another Calm Mind, but full para. Oh man, the Porygon 2 doesn't have Thunderbolt though, which is a pretty big oopsie daisy in this particular circumstance. Hidden Power there, obviously merit against some things. And I'm not clear, is that Hidden Power fighting? It's not Grass because it would be super effective. It's not Fire because it would be not very effective. I kind of think that's Hidden Power fighting. Which, I mean, yeah, against T-Tar, against Bliss, I get where it would have merit, but You really, really want to have Thunderbolt when you're staring down a Suicune, and he doesn't seem to have any good answer to that. He's chipping it away 8% at a time. I feel like that won't be enough, but maybe that's just me. Man, the Suicune we know does not, I guess we don't know, but I mean, if we're judging based on last game, we can very strongly assume that it has Roar rather than Sleep Talk, and he's not been Sleep Talking all along, meaning when BIHI forces it to sleep, all he has to do, and there is the Roar, so now we know definitively, all BIHI would have to do is go to a Roarmon and roar the guy out very safely, but that apparently is not an option for him. BIHI's team, despite the presence of double electric, feels very, very Suicune weak in this moment. It might not be, generally speaking, with Raikou and Zapdos, though to be fair, neither of those switch in very well to a Coon that's boosting. But yeah, I mean, with the electrics down and with the Porygon 2 not actually having Thunderbolt, this Suicune really feels like a problem. I think ABR is going to win with the Suicune alone, which gonna be a bit of a facepalm, I think, for BIHI, who just went through 100 plus turns of the motions to take down a hard-fought Game 1, but I'm thinking ABR is going to equalize here and send us to a Game 3 at 1-1. I mean, if BIHI had an answer for the Suicune, he sure as hell would have shown it by now. Like I said, when he forces it to rest, which he has done many times, if he had a Roar user, he would have just gone to it and clicked it. Clearly doesn't have it, and does not seem to have any meaningful answer. Dugtrio gets roared away. There's your last poke, Jirachi. Maybe it's got an electric attack, or you can get an Ice Beam, or Ice Punch, rather, Freeze here. Gonna go for CM. The problem with combining up with it is we know that the Suicune can roar it away, but that would have been a chance there if the Jirachi had gotten a critical hit there with Hidden Power that I assume to be Grass, then we'd be in business. But alas, critical hit did not come. Well, there it comes for ABR. No more Porygon 2. Basically, Jirachi is going to have to solo the game at this point, or we are going to a 1-1 Game 3. And Rachi's pretty damn low to mount an epic comeback. Hidden Power, there you go. Hey, there's the crit that you needed. Very, very small chance here, but I would still favor ABR. Calm Mind, S-Toss, Kate, gonna be a pretty quick one. Jirachi either finds a miracle here or is dead to Seismic Toss, and there is no miracle to be found. Doesn't even have the option to freeze him or to para, full para, or anything like that. All he has is Psychic. Wouldn't have been even close, even with a critical hit, and Seismic Toss will finish him off. So we are indeed, as predicted, going to a 1-1 Game 3, meaning there will be at least 4 games in this set, because obviously when it's best of 5 and it's 1-1, neither player can win the set in the next game. But it's pretty good to be up 2-1 rather than down 2-1. So I'm sure they'll both try their best. Let's see if ABR has the balls to bring this team 3 times in a row. I can't believe he brought it twice in a row, but hey, it won this time. Do we get a third? And is BIHI paranoid as hell about bringing a Dugtrio weak lead, since ABR has weirdly led with Dugtrio twice in a row? The mind games going into the third game. Alright, here we go. Switching those sides for continuity, unnecessary in this case. It is still BIHI on the bottom and ABR on the top. Let's go. Suicune and Swampert. Ah, sweet relief. ABR has opted for a different team, it seems. And he's got Roar on his pert. So the Suicune that tried to Calm Mind up is in fact roared away. Double Water for BIHI. And a Blissey. Man, ABR 3 times out of 3 has gone over to the Fori. What a stud. That Fori's dead though now if it's HP Fire. And indeed that is the case. He did manage to get 1 layer of spikes down. Could matter. A lot of the time Magneton teams do not have a Rapid Spinner. And if that is the case here, then that one layer will be there to stay. But nevertheless, hard to not think that BIHI got the better end, trading the entire Pokemon for just one layer of spikes. And as it turns out, there is a Rapid Spinner. It's a Magdoll for BIHI. But there's a Gengar to block it. Fair enough. So the spike does remain for now. Blissey switches into Gengar. Will-O-Wisp comes down. Could we perhaps be looking at Wow Taunt here? If the Gengar does have Taunt, didn't go for it there. We instead get a Starmie switch. Surf with a crit does only 38%. Not that exciting. Obvious soft boil turn coming. ABR could take advantage of that and switch to whatever he wants. And it's not that remarkable. We just end up with Bliss on Bliss. Back to Starmie here. That also gets T-Waved again. And here comes an S-Toss. Surf comes down, so it's becoming pretty apparent pretty quickly that ABR doesn't really have fantastic ways to damage an opposing Bliss. This very well might be another grindy, longer game certainly if ABR is to win, because it doesn't seem like he has real win cons, but BIHI's team on the sturdier, more balanced side as well, which seems to largely be his MO. And BIHI felt safe there, not worried about Taunt, not worried about Boom. He felt safe to stay in and click Soft Boiled, and he was rewarded for it. Potentially, his Blissey was in a little bit of trouble there, but as it turns out, Crisis Averted did get the recovery move off. Last poke Regice revealed for ABR, and last poke Celebi for BIHI, so the full 6 known for both players at this point. Blissey comes into a Flamethrower. Like I said, Blissey seems like a difficult mon for ABR. It is possible that some combo of the 4 either Gar or the Regice, or even all of the above, have Boom as a way to help deal with it. Likewise, maybe Swampert has Focus Punch or something to that effect, but the team does seem a little bit Bliss weak, a little bit Bliss soft from ABR's seat. Psychic there was aimed at Gengar, but he was wrong. Gengar does come in now, and Psychic again, this time, is the right prediction. Gets him for 46%, but this is a sandless game, so he will absolutely survive another, pending a crit, which it's not, and we get a Will-O-Wisp and Psychic trade here. BIHI, had he clicked Rapid Spin there, actually would have removed the spikes, but it is very difficult to click Rapid Spin into the Gengar. Sometimes that's a great play, but very hard in the moment to do. I don't blame BIHI for not doing it there, but that one layer of spikes that ABR traded his entire 4 for is still down. He's been fighting really, really hard to keep that established, and so far so good. But the Heal Bell there is going to remove the Will-O-Wisp burn from the Claydol, so that makes that trade obviously not so good. The Claydol basically good as new, whereas the Gengar is at whatever it is, 9% or something, 15%. That is not so hot for the future. Celebi mooching off the much higher HP pool of Blissey, gets a recover off, and is actually going to stay in against Regice, risking a crit that would have killed him there, so maybe a little risky for BIHI, but it's going to work out this time, and he does get recover off and go back to a hundo. Like I said, in this sandless game, bulky things like both Blisseys, the Suicune, the Regice, are going to be even bulkier than they normally are, and are going to be challenging to kill. Might be in for a longer game here for sure. They both have more passive teams and don't have that many win cons. We've got no sand. We might be in for a grind. We'll see if BIHI here can manage to Rapid Spin away the spike. Here comes Gengar, and Rapid Spin is blocked yet again as Gengar gets just barely out of the red and into the yellow at 21%. Destiny Bond, good thing BIHI did not fall for that. Would have taken the Claydol down with him. But the Claydol doubles back in, and he's going to eat a very big Surf in exchange for the Rapid Spin. So BIHI obviously deemed that worthwhile. He took 87% in order to get rid of that spike, but crucially, ABR cannot reestablish that spike, so it's gone. And hopefully, like I said, BIHI finds that worthwhile, and we'll see if he can find a way to win from here. But it certainly feels like the kind of game that is going to be a grind, given the passive and sturdy nature, the defensive nature of both teams, and the lack of proper win cons from both players. Certainly spikes were a big part of the win con for ABR, but alas, those are not going to be there. And we really don't know what kind of Suicune it is for BIHI. He showed Calm Mind, but basically every Suicune in the world, whether you are Crocoon or Roarcoon or Subcoon, they all have Calm Mind, so it doesn't tell us anything. Well, like I said, grab a drink, strap in. This one very well may take a moment here. There would be a development there had the Claydol gone down, but it does not. And it does not go for Boom there. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have it. We've only seen Rapid Spin and Psychic. It presumably has EQ. But could the last move be Boom in that situation? Absolutely. And we'll see if that is the case and if he ends up getting value. He can obviously end up booming into the Gengar, which is not so good. But anything else would be a fine target, and it would certainly speed the game along, which I, as a narrator, am a fan of. Roars away the Starmie here and finds the Pert. So Calm Mind Roar basically tells us the full set. You would think that it's going to be Surf and Rest as the last moves. There is Surf, so the only part of it that we haven't seen is the Rest part, which is probably coming very, very soon if he has it. There you go. So he's going to rest away the Toxic. He's got 3 boosts at the moment. However, we know that Swampert has Roar, so this Suicune is about to disappear. It does, of course, kill his last Sleep Turn on the way out, because why wouldn't you? But the Suicune has been neutralized. 70 turns in, and we still don't have any kills other than the Fori, who really didn't have any choice in the matter, because he was magnet pulled. ABR has managed to nurse up that Gengar, though. It was as low as 9% at one point. Not that it's like crazy healthy now, even less so after that Surf, but he did get up briefly to almost half health. Gonna try yet again to Destiny Bond. Obviously taking the Suicune with him would be a good trade for ABR, but BIHI, unsurprisingly, doesn't fall for that. Blissey gonna continue to check the Starmie. Not that the Blissey is any threat to the Starmie, but he can at least wall it. And he's gonna go for Ice Beam. Why not? But Ice Beam really not that exciting against ABR's team. There's 2 Natural Cure Mons, and there's also the Regice that can never be frozen. So I guess you are hoping to freeze the Swampert and the Gengar only, given the current game state. Doesn't seem that exciting. But if the game goes really, really long, then hell, maybe fishing for freezes is going to be one of the ways out of it. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Bliss on Regice now. Haven't really seen a lot from the Regice, just Ice Beam, which they all have, but it's possible that as a surprise move, like Boom, like Focus Punch, like Super Power, maybe if he sandbags it long enough, he could catch the Bliss. For example, what if right there, instead of Ice Beam, he had clicked Focus Punch or Super Power? That works. There you go. T-Wave and Boom. So that changes the game in a big way. The fact that Blissey is now down makes it a little bit more awkward to switch into the special threats, such as Gengar, such as Starmie. Now, the Celebi here can generally handle them, but that probably speeds the game up, and that is Nightshade, straight out of the cartridge for ABR. I've seen this before. I don't like it. I've never used it, but it's not an accident. It's not a misclick. It's basically just a very safe neutral coverage move when you don't want to mess around and have the wrong coverage at the wrong time. It's just a steady, generic, if unremarkable, source of damage. But let's not overlook what happened there. The Gengar also got a Boom off. So that leaves us finally in something approaching an endgame. Celebi there gets frozen at a very poor time. And the fact that Blissey got killed by the Regice actually might end up being the deciding factor in this game, because now this off-star might be able to clean up. Down goes the Suicune. Obviously, Gyarados is not going to come into something that he knows has Thunderbolt. And that's the game. So the whole damn game came down to, and this is another almost 100-turn game, but the whole damn game came down to ABR waiting very, very patiently, trying to lull BIHI into thinking that his Blissey's safe, and BIHI makes one little tiny misstep. He clicks a nice innocuous Thunder Wave trying to connect with the Regice, and there you go, just like that. Boom Daddy. Clicks Explosion, removes Bliss, and I mean, we went through the motions, but the game was basically over right then and there, because BIHI could no longer handle the off-star. Now, granted, he got a little bit unlucky getting the Celebi frozen, but I think if the game had just played out over time, eventually something like that, critting the Celebi, freezing the Celebi, whatever the case may be, was bound to happen. I think the Starmie was basically always going to clean this up had we played this out long enough. And another weird set from ABR, Surf, Recover, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, another thing that nobody uses, but ABR busting out the creativity in this winner's bracket final and demonstrating why he's here. Weird teams, hard to prep against, willing to take risks, and finds himself up 2-1, just one game away from being in the upper bracket in the grand finals, which is a position that he has been in before. I didn't even note that yet in the video, but ABR is already a Kalos Invitational champion, having won the 5th edition of the tournament, and he also made money. He got 3rd place way back in CI3, so ABR now is guaranteed he's going to be a 3-time money winner in Kalos Invitational, one of only 2 players to ever do that, the other being the Linear Curve. Now, BIHI is also guaranteed money, but this is only his 2nd attempt at this tournament, and it's awesome in his 2nd attempt that he's going to get cash money as well. But yeah, ABR 2-game-to-1 lead as we move to Game 3. BIHI going to have to rattle off the back-to-back, or ABR will once again await in the winner's bracket grand final. Like I said, a position he's been in before and would obviously love to be in again. So, continuing as we've been, it is BIHI as PIHI on the bottom and ABR on the top for Game 4, with a 2-1 ABR advantage going into this game. Titar and Titar, back to normal ADV where Dugtrios don't lead. One of them switches, one of them doesn't. We've got a substitute for ABR, thunderbolting into Skarm, and he's going to roar him out. We end up Skarm on Skarm. Do we have a Tyranitar for ABR? And for those of you who have no fucking clue what I just said, that is an ancient set, which is Substitute, Crunch, Focus Punch, and Thunderbolt with a quiet nature. That thing was invented a bazillion years ago, back in net battle days, and it has long since been extinct, but ABR may have used the, I was going to say Helix fossil, but whatever the Tyranitar fossil is, the T-Rex fossil, and resurrected that ancient set from the dead. We shall see. In the meantime, this seems to be some kind of aggressive leaning balance, or some kind of like, I mean, I guess it's not a mixed offense if it's Skarm Bliss, but Skarm Bliss plus Mixed Breakers, which is an archetype that I have built quite a bit of myself and am always a fan of. And I think it's a good choice against BIHI as well, because things like Mixed Titar and things like Charizard are the exact kind of mons that I would envision as being strong against BIHI, who strongly leans into TSSs and defensive teams. Here comes Jirachi, blanking Toxic on the way in, and gonna receive a Wish, so he negates those 2 spikes for now. ABR has not shown a spinner, very well may not have one on what seems to be a pretty offensive-leaning team. Gonna go for Fire Punch there, fishing for that 20% with Serene Grace, burn, but doesn't find it, and he is punished with an Earthquake. Hit with another Earthquake here, but not before putting Toxic on the Titar. Jirachi should be able to Wish and Protect, stall him out here. Does eat another Earthquake, but that was never going to kill without a crit, which he didn't find. And it's an obvious Protect turn here, which is going to whiff on the switch, but nevertheless, Jirachi lives to fight another day at a pretty healthy 74% as Gengar comes in for BIHI, and he's going to go ahead and Protect up to 80% and be even healthier than he was a moment ago. Will-O-Wisp is the move that we saw on the Protect turn. Going to switch it up now to Thunderbolt. Blissey's going to be at 52%, but Soft Boil definitely coming, unless Focus Punch, Boom, or Taunt, none of which occur, and there is the Soft Boiled. Blissey briefly back up to a hundo before it suffers the residual damage down to 88%. Skarm comes in, Wish floating, 2 spikes to 1 at the moment, favoring BIHI. 3rd one probably coming, there it is, and it is just going to be S-Toss, so Blissey going to eat its own Wish. Back up to a hundo, and then back down to 88 with the burn. Wish floating yet again. Roar. Brings us Charizard, which is probably not what Skarmory wanted to see. Skarm obviously not about to stay in against that. And here comes Aerodactyl. Resists the Flamethrower, but still takes 37%. And Aerodactyl, unsurprisingly, not gaining lefties. Probably Choice Banded, just like every other Aerodactyl in the world. And unfortunately, it is the wrong selection for BIHI. Going to go for Earthquake into the Skarmory. Will-O-Wisp now. Skarm is burnt for ABR, but he gets his third lair down. And neither player has shown a Rapid Spinner, so 3 spikes a pop at the moment. Drill Peck there, unremarkable because of that burn attack reduction, does just 19%. And now Blissey comes in. Gengar has not shown a way to stop Soft Boiled here. Like I said, boom, taunt, focus punch. But once again, playing like a man who has none of the above. BIHI switches it back to T-Tar here. Soft Boiled comes down for Bliss, and the T-Tar is suffering not only from the spikes, but also still from the poison. Rock Slide comes down there, aimed at Blissey, going to miss wide and left against the Skarm, which also is still suffering. In this case, it is because of a burn. 7% between the burn and the resistance. Not going to do it on Zapdos with that Drill Peck. Now Blissey comes in. Comes in on spikes and Thunderbolt, finds herself at 57%, but same deal. Zapdos has not shown any major deterrent here, random HP fighting or something. Obviously ABR is going to switch, click Soft Boiled here, and that's what he does. Thunderbolt and Wish respectively. See if he can pass that Wish somewhere. Going to try to pass it to Flygon, in fact. That was the final, previously unrevealed poke for ABR. We now have the full team for him, and we know that he doesn't have a Rapid Spinner. He's going to outspeed the Zapdos and get a Rock Slide off, though. Not sure what BIHI stayed in there for. We never did see Hidden Power, but he very well may have had HP Ice, which makes it even more frustrating for him that he was outsped. Or he could have just been going for Toxic there. But either way, he was outsped and taken down, and the first Mon's advantage, 6-5, belongs to ABR. Will-O-Wisp with the miss, but the follow-up does connect. Wish floating yet again. Wish Bliss seems very obnoxious for BIHI and has largely been carrying ABR in this game. Ice Beam crit there does not help BIHI's case when he is already behind. Skarm is at just 9%. After lefties now. Wish floating again. And Roar is going to drag out Flygon. Rock Slide. Yeah, 15%. I can do that. Down goes the Skarm. And ABR's lead gets bigger, keeping in mind that he's already up 2-1. So, should he win here, the set is over. And he is in our grand finals in the upper bracket. Rock Slide there for BIHI. Cannot blame him whatsoever for going for it. A crit or a flinch would have been really good there, but he finds neither. Aerodactyl drops, and it is starting to look dire for BIHI. The one saving grace being we don't know the last poke. It is still unrevealed. Maybe it can make something happen, but right now this is a one-sided affair. 6-3 advantage with ABR in the lead, pretty much wire to wire in this game. BIHI catches up a little bit, taking out Skarm with Thunderbolt. Here comes T-Tar, probably a Pursuit Tar given the rest of the team. Last poke Swampert for BIHI, and it is in fact Pursuit Tar. Gonna click Crunch, may or may not have HP Grass here. Nope, just Crunch again. And Surf is gonna leave him at 1%. Crucially, not killing him there, enables another Crunch, which is what he's gonna go for. Swampert's gonna protect, maybe get out of range at 35%. But he's not out of range of a crit. And BIHI is really in shambles now with only T-Tar and Gengar against 5 pokes from ABR. Make that 4 because of Thunderbolt, but still between a rock and a hard place here. Here comes the Zard. Thunderbolt does a lot, but it comes up well short of killing. Flamethrower, however, especially in Blaze range, does not. And that is going to be the ball game. He's going to concede before it happens, but the T-Tar is at 24%. It would have literally died to the spikes, not to mention the fact that it is both poison and outsped. There was absolutely no way out of this game for BIHI. So, unfortunately for the viewers, this 4th game was probably the least close, but I'm sure ABR is just fine with that. ABR, after dropping game 1, is going to rattle off 3 in a row, and he is going to be in the winner's bracket of the grand final, so he could do no worse in this tournament than second place, and he has a very real shot. In fact, he is the clear odds-on favorite, since he's in the upper bracket, to be a 2-time Kalos Invitational champion. He will be only the second player to ever do that alongside the linear curve, and that will obviously bump him up in the ADV all-time greats discussion. But like I said, BIHI is not eliminated from the tournament. In fact, he could still win the entire tournament. It is simply a longer, harder road to do that now. He's going to have to play the lower bracket final, which we don't know against who yet, but when it comes, and then whoever wins the lower bracket final gets to challenge ABR in the grand finals, and that person will have to beat ABR twice in best of 5s. Obviously a tall task, but this tournament has been won multiple times from the lower bracket. Who's to say it couldn't happen again this year? Like I said, guys, there was a change of plans. Originally, I was going to do the third place match, but I got the boot. So I believe that that's the tournament for me. Like I said, Jim's going to be narrating grand finals. Really hope you guys have enjoyed my commentary. I've tried to mix in play-by-play, color commentary, humor, seriousness, education into my own unique blend, my own unique commentating style. Some people like it, some people don't. But I've really tried to entertain you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So huge shout out to the crew at Revival Tours, Jim, Gold, and everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to guest narrate this. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all of you who have checked out my channel, youtube.com/KalosNarrates. I've gained a lot of subscribers from doing this. I really appreciate it. I've had a blast with this whole experience. And if I don't see you guys again, I hope all of you out there in viewerland enjoy the rest of the tournament. Congrats on the win to ABR and to BIHI. Both of you guys going home with money no matter what. Thank you so much for watching the video.